Well, it's been a while, guys. This is a new channel of mine. I don't know how long I'm going to be making videos for, but today's Red Sox loss just made me want to come back on here and make a video. Not to talk about the series necessarily. I'll get into it briefly, but more or less just talk about the Red Sox organization and just my frustration with them. Um, just the last few years, and especially with where it seems to be where they're going. Which the answer is I don't know where they're going. It's been a very confusing reaction to some of the decisions they've made. Again, over the past couple of years with new management and leadership, and so I just wanted to come on here and give you my thoughts. And if you aren't familiar with my stuff, I used to be Bo Sox Nation 2012. I deleted most of the videos, but there's a few videos back on that channel if you are interested, going back to 2017. But anyways, let's get right into it. And what was this series? It was a missed opportunity. I mean, you go back to the trade deadline last Monday, after they deal Christian Vasquez to the Houston Astros. They're in Houston, one of the best teams in baseball this year, and on the road, the Red Sox take 2 out of 3 against the Astros. And Nate Eovaldi pitched great on Monday. Cutter Crawford pitched well on Tuesday. They got beat Wednesday, but the point being, they played a great series. And, Chaim Bloom pretty much gave the message of, look, we traded Christian Vasquez, but we kept JD Martinez. We kept Nate Eovaldi. We're going to hope we get healthy with Trevor Story, Kike Hernandez, and some of these bullpen guys, and we're going to try and make another playoff push. And to be honest with you, I think I was pretty happy with that. They also acquired Eric Hosmer, but I was happy with that decision because I thought that this team still had a chance. And yeah, their schedule wasn't going to be easy, playing a lot of American League East competition, especially in September. But I figured, you know what, this is probably their last run with this core that they have. I mean, Nate Eovaldi has become an integral piece in the rotation. JD Martinez, Xander Bogaerts, both are going to be free agents at the end of the season. Rafael Devers has a couple more years, but we don't know what his future is. And I mean, so it's like this core of Red Sox that won a World Series in 2018, went to the ALCS last year. This was pretty much could be their last hurrah. Because I don't think they're going to retain all those guys. I don't think I want JD Martinez to return next year. That's a side note, but it was, this was a missed opportunity. They take 2 out of 3 from the Astros. They go to Kansas City, a bad baseball team. You get them for 4 games. It's like, you know what? You win 3 out of 4. You get the off day Monday. Yeah, the Braves are coming in. I think they have 1 game against the Orioles this week as a makeup game, and then they play the Yankees at home for the weekend, which the Yankees haven't been easy on them this year, but they beat them last time they played at Fenway. You don't know. You take care. All you can do is take care of 1 game at a time. And 4 games against the Kansas City Royals, after winning 2 out of 3 against Houston, seemed like a layup for this team, even though they are a 500 baseball team. But for my sake as a fan, wanting them to get back into it, I thought this was an opportunity. And Thursday night, it's a tie game. It's 3-3, and Darwinson Hernandez comes in, professional big leaguer. This guy, his job is to he's a pitcher, and he can't throw strikes. He walks the leadoff guy. I think he walked 2 guys in the game in his outing, and then he gave up a home run and blew the game open. The Red Sox lose on Thursday. I can't tell you how this sport, and this is for a separate video, but how many pitchers who cannot throw strikes, they just come in and they walk guys or they get strikeouts. There's really no in between. It's walks or strikeouts. It's not even entertaining to watch as a product. And that's what baseball ultimately is supposed to be entertainment. And watching strikeouts and walks isn't even entertaining. But when pitchers come in and they can't throw strikes, it's beyond frustrating to see a team lose because your pitcher couldn't throw it over the plate. They won Friday. Saturday, Eovaldi gives up 4 runs against, again, a mediocre at best Kansas City team. They suck. Kansas City is a bad baseball team. I can't get on Eovaldi. I don't know how fully healthy he is, but 4 runs, he's not an ace. I mean, he's been their pseudo-ace pretty much ever since Chris Sale's been injured, going back the last few years. But, not the great outing. And then Garrett Whitlock, who I love, comes in, almost throws 3 perfect innings, gives up a 2-strike, 2-out home run. What are you going to do? Can't get mad at that guy. That guy has been practically perfect, in his Red Sox career. I mean, he is pretty much nails every time he comes in. And again, they asked him to get 3 scoreless innings. That's not an easy feat. Gives with a home run. And then today is just the exclamation point. They're down 5-1. They chip away. They cut it to 2, and then to lead off the seventh inning, Jarren Duran loses another fly ball in the outfield in the sun, and it turns into a triple. Then he lets a ball go off his glove. It's another triple. Excuse me. And so the game blows open. They end up getting their asses kicked. They lost 13-5 today, I believe. And, now where do they go from here? And I want to bring this back to the point of it being a missed opportunity, because just as this series was a missed opportunity, last year was a missed opportunity. 2021 was an amazing season for the Red Sox in that no one saw it coming. No one thought they'd be 2 wins away from going to the World Series last year. At least I didn't. And they got up to a great start, and I'm not going to go through the whole season, but if you were to told me at the beginning of 2021 that the Red Sox would be in the ALCS up 2-1 with a lead in Game 4 against the Astros, I would have been like, you've got to be kidding me. I would have signed up for that all day. Now, of course, they didn't make it to the World Series, and that's, again, what I want to get into. At the trade deadline last year, again, this team doesn't ever seem to want to go for it. At least not anymore. It seems like they're always, weighing their options of like, well, we kind of want to go for it, but we don't want to go for it too much. We don't want to risk the future of the franchise too much, because for this team, this team shouldn't even be here. It's kind of just buzzing at their ears. So yeah, we're going to just kind of ride it out. And but we're presuming the best years of this franchise to come. And it's like, I'm okay with that if that's what you're going to give me, but I don't know if that's necessarily something you can give me. This is a team that they kind of win sporadically. I'll get into the last 10 years of this franchise on how they've performed and how up and down it's been as a fan, and how they've performed, because there has been some highs in there. There's been 2 World Series. Last year wasn't a World Series, but they still went to the ALCS Game 6 when they got eliminated. That's still a great run. But there's last place finishes in there. There's some collapses in there. There's some just mediocrity in there. It's just like, there's never really a steady, they're not, and I'm not saying this is an easy thing to achieve. Like the Los Angeles Dodgers have proven that they can do it year in, year out, pretty much since 2014 or 13. They've been the top of the National League West, it seems, every single year. And again, I think they have the best record in baseball right now. Yeah, in a perfect world, they'd be the Los Angeles Dodgers, but I don't think that's an easy thing to achieve. And so because it's so hard to achieve that, and I don't think they're at that point of achieving that, when an opportunity is there to go for a World Series, you have to take it. You owe it to your fans to take it. And I'm not saying that means you destroy the farm system completely. I think there is, or any reasonable person would say there's something that's, this is going too far. There's a happy medium to be had, and what's worth, sacrificing for a championship. Championships don't come around out every day. And again, this team was 2 wins away from winning the World Series last year, and they decided not to really make any significant moves. Now, they did get Kyle Schwarber and Hansel Robles. He wasn't expected to be great, but he got some really clutch shots for them that year at the end down the stretch. But it's just like, there were other moves they could have made that maybe put them over the top in that series. And they decided not to do it. And now here, where are we this year? What was our expectations? What was my expectations after 2021 ended going into 2022? Because I'm not going to lie, I wasn't expecting them to grow from the ALCS to be in the World Series this year. I don't think that was reasonable. I think last year was a bit of an aberration. I think they were playing a little bit over their heads. I also think in baseball, if you make the playoffs, anything can happen. I think in baseball, randomness happens, and in the playoffs, it is a bit of a crapshoot. But, that, and some of you might say, well, then why make trades of the farm if it is a crapshoot in playoffs? And that is one argument you can make. But I would also say, if there's a chance for a championship, I want them to have the best roster constructed. And yeah, if they get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, then you know what? Shit happens. But at least as a fan, I can live with the fact that they gave it a chance, and yeah, they just didn't perform. But to get there and not have the right pieces and then just hope for the best, I think is not a good way to operate. And, going into this year, so my expectations, definitely playoffs. The baseball expanded the playoffs to another team in the American League and National League making it this year. So there's 6 teams making the playoffs out of 15 in the league. I would like to think that the Boston Red Sox would be a lock for the playoffs for the rest of time in this playoff format. And, and that's despite saying they had no ace in the rotation. Garrett Whitlock was an amazing reliever that I expected to be potentially their closer going into this year. and they decided to make him a starter. They had no first baseman that was proven. They were going to go again with Bobby Dahlbeck, who has turned out to be not a first baseman here. And maybe he plays somewhere else, but he's not a major league first baseman here. They traded Hunter Renfroe, which again, I wasn't in love with Renfroe, but they didn't really replace him. They didn't re-sign Kyle Schwarber, which again, I was not thrilled about, but if it was going to be either JD or Kyle Schwarber, I thought JD Martinez was a better hitter. And, that brings us to the next point of this year. They also got some underperformances from some of their players. JD Martinez didn't hit for the power I expected him to have. Xander Bogaerts didn't hit for the power that I expected him to hit for. Kike Hernandez was atrocious for the first few months of the season. Alex Verdugo was very mediocre. Bobby Dahlbeck, as a first baseman, provided almost nothing offensively and defensively. This team all around, but specifically him, had some blunders and some bad plays that cost this team games. That if they won those games, with the race being with them 5 or 6 out, now they're 3 out, maybe 4, 2 or out, 2 out. If some of the defense was a little bit better in the field, and they didn't have that. And he was a major contributor to poor defense. And you can also argue that they got hurt. Trevor Story, another person who underperformed, but he has dealt with several injuries this year. Kike Hernandez got hurt. Chris Sale obviously was rehabbing an injury, comes back. His second outing into his season, breaks his finger on a freak play against the Yankees. Garrett Whitlock had an injury being in the rotation. Nate Eovaldi had a DL stint. Rich Hill. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries, but that's baseball. Injuries happen in this game all the time, and it's not an excuse because it can happen. And yeah, if your team gets decimated by injuries, that's going to alter expectations, but it's not like this team was playing great and then they all got injured. I mean, they got off to a terrible start. And, their division opponents, I mean, let's talk about that. That was another thing that you had to take into account. The Yankees went off this year. I did not expect them to be as good as they've been. I still don't think they're as good as their record shows, but, I mean, hey, they've been playing great for the entire season, so you can't take anything away from them. Toronto got off to a decent start, but then they kind of played 500, and now they're finally starting to play as well as I expected them to. Tampa Bay's been a little bit less good than I expected, but they're in the playoffs if the season ended today, which is where I thought they'd be. And then Baltimore, they're playing over their heads. I think they're having a good season, considering where I thought they'd be. And the Red Sox are in last place. So again, missed opportunities. This was a team last year, 2 wins away from the World Series, and they didn't go for it because they were like, we're not going to mortgage the future. We have bright things ahead. And they're in last place right now. With what vision going forward? JD Martinez is a free agent next year. Nathan Eovaldi is a free agent. Xander Bogaerts is a free agent. And maybe that's a separate video to make on him specifically, because for the amount of money he's going to command, and listen, I like Xander Bogaerts a lot. You can't pay someone $300 million to hit 10 homers by August 7th. Yeah, I'm sorry. He's a great player, but he's, I think, a little overrated here. And yeah, he's a captain, and I know people like to fall in love with the captains, and you can't trade him or you can't not sign him. But if this team is going to be a little bit frugal with money, which I have a problem with, but if they're going to be frugal with money, I want to make sure that money goes towards power bats, power arms. Rafael Devers better be a Red Sox for life. That's a guy who you signed for $300 million or more because he's going to hit you 35 to 40 homers. Xander Bogaerts, he's getting older, so his defensive skills aren't going to get any better. He's a good average hitter. He's going to hit you some doubles, but you know what? I don't know if I'm paying him $300 million. So it's like, what is the future? I don't see anybody in the farm that's probably ready for next year. I mean, you could bring up Marcelo Mayer, but the kid's like 18 years old. He's not ready for the big leagues, at least probably not for 2 or 3 more years. So now is the great Red Sox team 2 to 3 years away? I mean, we're talking about a team that is the Red Sox should never be 2 to 3 years away. Or if they are from being a champion, they shouldn't suck. They shouldn't be in last place when you charge tickets prices the way they are, when you have payroll as high as it is. I feel like ownership is still committed to winning. I mean, ownership around here they get lit up a lot by the fans and the media, but I think that they still put forth a good payroll to show the fans that, yeah, we're committed to having a winning product. And sometimes they don't sign the best contracts, but they always have the money, generally speaking. And what is Chaim Bloom's vision? I mean, I think Chaim Bloom gets a lot of praise and a lot of hate. And honestly, I'm a Bloom guy. I think he's smart. I think he's picked up some good players. I mean, he went and got Hunter Renfroe for pretty much nothing. He picked up Adam Ottavino last year and got Garrett Whitlock as a Rule 5 pick. And look what he turned into. He picked up Kike Hernandez last year. Kike went off in the playoffs. I mean, he's made a lot of good moves, but I also think he's like one of these GMs that maybe falls in love with his minor league system and is so worried about, sacrificing some of those players at the expense of going for it all. And, when he worked in Tampa Bay, and I'm not saying it's easy to win a World Series as Tampa Bay. I mean, they're a small market team, but you know what? Tampa Bay, as good as they are, have never won shit. And they're probably never going to win shit because they don't have the financial resources, number one, but number two, they never go for it. And again, a lot of that has to do with the financial, shortcomings that they deal with. But the Red Sox don't have that problem. They have the money, generally speaking, to go out and say, you know what, we're going to take the luxury tax hit because we have something real special here that can be a World Series winner. And that's something that, every fan base deserves. But certainly the Red Sox fans who, again, are paying extremely high ticket prices to go watch this team play. And, does Chaim Bloom have this vision that they're the Los Angeles Dodgers? I alluded to this earlier in this video, and this has been an extremely long video, guys. I appreciate your patience. But the Red Sox are not the Dodgers. It's not easy to be the Dodgers. There's not a ton of Dodgers teams out there. Even the most, the biggest teams with the biggest payrolls don't always win. The Dodgers have a great farm system, but they also pay big players. They signed Mookie Betts after they traded for him. They traded prospects and then signed him. That was a double whammy. They signed Freddie Freeman. They traded prospects for Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. They didn't sign Max Scherzer, but this is a team that, yeah, they have a great farm system. They're always developing players. And they also trade players. They traded Alex Verdugo when he was a prospect. What's Alex Verdugo? He's a decent player. He's an everyday player on a big league team, but is he a make or break championship player on a team? He's not. They traded Jeter Downs, who was well renowned as this great prospect. I think he sucks. They traded Connor Wong, a catcher prospect. Again, he seems like at best he's a backup catcher. Sometimes you have to, and I'm not saying the Red Sox have the farm system like the Dodgers, but sometimes you have to look at what people value, what they perceive them to be, and even look your own perceptions and say, you know what? I can trade these guys to get a legitimate player who has proven to be a player in the big leagues at a high level, and I'm going to make this move. And again, even being the Dodgers isn't perfect because the Dodgers, I mean, listen, to be in the playoffs every year as a fan, that's all I'd ask for. You're in the playoffs. The way the Dodgers run their team, I love it. But they've been kind of underachievers. The fact that they've only won one World Series since 2013 when they finally became good, and they've only made it to 2 World Series is, to me, a bit of an underachievement given all the investment that's been put into that team. But the point is they're there every year, and the Red Sox aren't. And again, when they have a chance to be there, they didn't go for it. And now I look at where we're at in 2022, and I have some regrets for how last year went. And just let's go back to 2010. And I'm almost done, guys, with this video. But going back to the Red Sox 2010, 3rd place. 2011, 3rd place. That was the collapse, the beer and chicken team. 2012, last place, Bobby Valentine. 2013, they won the World Series, but let's keep it real. It was a flash in the pan. A bunch of veteran players, and they just won the World Series. It was the most random World Series ever. 2014 and 2015, last place. 2016 and 17, 1st place. 2018, they won the whole thing. That was a team that did go for it. They went for it. They made some trades. They made some signings. They were over the tax threshold. And you know what? They won a World Series. And then in 2019, you know what? They didn't fall flat on their faces. They finished in 3rd place, and they were pretty mediocre. But, they were still 80. I think they won 86 games that year. 2020 was the COVID year. Doesn't really count. They came in last place. 2021, again, not many expectations, not a whole lot of investment. They go to the ALCS, and here we are in 2022, and they're in last place again. Now, the season's not over. Maybe they'll go on a big winning streak, but the point is I see no sense of direction with this team. And, you just cannot minimize the good seasons that you have. Because even though you might be projecting, well, we're trying to build a consistent good thing going forward, it's not guaranteed. And, what is the year you're going to actually go for it? When is going to be the time where you're like, now's the time to make the move? I think with a GM like Chaim Bloom, and I do like him, I just wonder with him, is there ever a right time, or is it, we're on pace to make the playoffs, we're going to get in, and we'll see what happens. We'll go with what we got, and we don't want to mortgage the future. So if we get in and lose in the first round, hey, still a successful season. He might think like that, and that's what's scary. And the other scary thing is if this team is in the same position next year, if this team does not get better, which I'm very curious to see where they go from here, how long is Alex Cora going to stick around? These managers want to win. They don't want to be staying for the long term. I mean, Alex Cora's already said he doesn't want to manage forever. He wants to manage for a number of years. But if it's going to be, hey, we're going to be third place, second place, we're never really going to go all in this year. That's going to be the message every year. I mean, how soon does he just say, all right, guys, I'm out? And I think his role as manager, and I don't think baseball managers, with terms of making decisions, bullpen, whatever, I think that's very overrated these days. And I think most of those decisions come from the front office with analytics and all that stuff. But I think there is an intangible, especially him being Puerto Rican and having, I think, a good culture in the clubhouse, being able to speak the language to both American players and players from other countries. I think that he has been loved as manager by everybody in that clubhouse. The way he carries himself, the way he talks to the players, and it sounds like he manages them, seems like there's a really good rapport with him and the players. And I feel like if they lose him, that's a monumental loss. I will say that I think he might be the best Red Sox manager in my lifetime. I think he is better than Terry Francona. I think Terry Francona had great rosters. I think if Alex Cora had those rosters, they would have won just as much. I think Alex Cora is an amazing manager in terms of just, again, the culture he has in the clubhouse. But that's it, guys. I've rambled on long enough. If you stuck around for the 25 minutes, I appreciate it. Again, plans for this channel. I'm 27 now. I don't have the time that I had when I was younger making videos. I don't intend on getting on here once a week and making a video, but I do intend to come on here every now and again and put out some Red Sox content. So if you're new to the channel and you stuck around, thank you for watching. If there's some old faces who found this new channel, I don't even remember my password to Bo Sox Nation 2012. So if you guys found it, nice to have you back. All your comments are welcome. And yeah, we'll see what this channel brings. But for now, I just wanted to get on here and share my thoughts on the Red Sox and what is a extremely frustrating and confusing time with this team and where they're going forward. So have a good night, guys, and thanks for watching.